I'm Richie Suave Flores.
And I'm Cori Crenshaw.
And this is Sporty with Cori and Richie Suave.
Floater, center field. The Diamondbacks are world champions. Down is the motion man. Little flip to Fitzgerald. He scores. And the Cardinals win an amazing game. Mikhail Bucker with a chance. He walks in. He scores. Mikhail Bucker for the second straight game is the hero.
All right, Sporty Nation, we are back with episode number 13, as Taylor Swift says, lucky number 13. And we are switching things up a little bit this episode because we have so much to talk about, so little time, that we are going to do 2 segments instead of 3 because we really like these topics and we want to go straight in depth on them because, I mean, that's what our viewers deserve. They deserve to get the most quality out of our discussions. So I think it's great that we chose to do it this time. We're going to be talking about the Coyotes and their idea of possibly only having no captain, but having 3 assistants this year, which is something that we haven't really seen from them before. And we will be going in depth on the Wildcard game, and which right before we came here was announced that the Diamondbacks will be playing the Rockies. So we'll be going into depth on that, and we'll be telling you guys what we think, what our predictions are, what our worries are, and really just kind of previewing that whole game for you. And especially because we know that Greinke is pitching now, so it'll be a very interesting discussion. What are you looking forward to, Richie?
I'm looking forward to hot taking the entire Sporty Nation into submission with my take about the starter for that National League Wildcard game.
Ooh, you've got some hot takes for us, Richie?
Yes.
Always
I do.
excited about your hot takes.
Stay tuned for that in a little bit, though. But let's get into the Coyotes first.
Yes, let's definitely get into the Coyotes first. So the Coyotes are thinking about doing 3 assistants instead of naming a C, which the old-fashioned people will always come back and say that there needs to be a C, there needs to be a clear blank captain. But after some long decisions and talking to our Sporty Nation, because our Sporty Nation is amazing, and I just love hearing what they have to say about it because of the fact that, you know, I like to have a well-rounded opinion before I actually come out with something. And hearing from them, I changed my opinion on it a little bit, but I think that 3 A's actually would be the smartest direction to go in for this team, especially in the fact that there is not a clear-cut winner to me. I mean, everyone that I've been talking to thinks that OEL is the one.
Right.
I am just not convinced that he's the one that's going to be able to lead this team, and I think that there are other people, Stepan and Domi in particular, that would be good for those positions as well. And if I had to choose one, I would choose Stepan.
It's not that big of a deal to me that they're not going to wear if they don't decide not to have a captain this season. You know, Rick Tocchet during the media day kind of went into this a little bit because he was basically saying that, look, just because you have a letter on your jersey or you don't have a letter on your jersey doesn't mean that you are a leader or you're not a leader. It depends. It just depends on the type of person you are in the locker room and on the ice. And when you're coming off such a long tenured captain, and Shane Doan, I believe he was the captain for a decade after Teppo Numminen left the Coyotes, it's going to be tough to follow in his shoes. And anybody who gets that C is going to be directly compared to the captaincy of Shane Doan. So in a way, I don't think it's fair for the Coyotes to name a captain this season. It's not that big a deal. There are other teams that have done that. The Maple Leafs have done it. The Hurricanes have done it. The Montreal Canadiens have done it recently. And then the San Jose Sharks went without a captain as well when they were going through some changes on the ice. So it's not that big of a deal. It's just a matter of who are you going to name it, especially on such a young team. But there are plenty of options out there. I'm looking at, you mentioned a couple already, but Alex Goligosk, Nicholas Hjalmarsson, Brad Richardson, a couple of other options listed in the article here from Sarah McClellan. And like you said, I'm a huge fan of Derek Stepan. Like we talked about on a previous show too, just listening to him, he's the kind of guy that this team needs. He's a veteran guy that clearly wants to be a leader and wants to make this young team better and wants to get them to the playoffs.
Oh, and he came in too. That was the biggest thing to me and he had said this on media day, is when he came in, he wanted to get to know these guys really well. He wanted to have the younger ones respect him and learn from him, but then he also wanted the older guys to respect him and feel like he's one of them. So the fact that he came in wanting to almost have that role from the very get-go, it means a lot to me. And the fact that he is so vocal, he is so funny and charismatic, and he can really be one of those people that you can see step in front of an entire locker room and really amp everyone up. I mean, I have pros and cons for literally everyone. I have them written down over here. One of them for Stepan is the fact that he is so vocal and he's he does so well with the media and all of that stuff. He's also got playoff experience. So he, it's not to say anything about the Coyotes not making it to playoffs very often, but people from this team don't have a lot of playoff experience, and he has a fair amount of it. He also is one of those players that he's just a very good, well-rounded player, and I feel like he can help a lot of the young kids on this team become that way as well. As for OEL, he has plenty of experience with the team, but I don't think he's vocal enough because he's just kind of a quieter guy. Given he's got all the respect from the team. I mean, after their home preseason game, everyone was saying how they were so afraid that he wasn't going to come back after the problem with his knee because of the fact that they considered him to be the best player on the team, and they all very much respect him and think that he is such a key person on the team. And too,
sorry to interrupt, but he's coming off a rough season personally. Last year, he lost his mother to cancer at the very end of last season. So personally, it's a very interesting time for OEL as well. That's kind of something that is to me kind of a negative. Do you really want somebody who's kind of having to deal with that mentally as your captain?
He had discussed that coming into media day about the fact that it's really helping him coming back after all that, taking some time off and being able to come in and say, okay, I took that time off. I did what I need to do. Now I can get my mind off of it by being back here and taking care of what he needs to do work-wise. But you're right. That's a mental state that, you don't know where he really is in that because he's one of those people that's, because he's quieter, you can't really gauge how he's feeling a lot of times. And he had the A in previous years, which is constantly a good thing to, the next step that everyone wants to see is him go from that A to that C. And I just don't feel like it's that time for him. Like he needs another year to either, learn how to be more vocal or figure out how to amp up the team and express himself to the team and really help some of these younger kids. And I just don't think that he has the ability to do it. The other one is Domi. And eventually Domi was supposed to step into Doan's shoes. Everyone always kind of thought that. He was a great ambassador for hockey in Arizona around nationally because of the fact of his diabetes. So everyone thought that with all of the great press that he brings and all that stuff, he could be the same for the community as Doan. So I agree with that. I think one day Domi is that type of player that will be a type of Doan. However, I just don't think he has the experience, and he's so young that I just don't think that having him being so young and inexperienced makes him, it's kind of hard. It's like as if you're going into a job and someone who literally just got that job and they are younger than you are your boss. It's hard for you to essentially respect that person. So I just don't think it's his time, but I think he'll eventually get there. I think it would just be much better if they kept it with the 3 A's, see who stepped up this season, and then reevaluate next season.
Cori, you kind of mentioned that the Sporty Nation was weighing in on this quite a bit on our social media feed. So I kind of want to go through and read some of their ideas for what they have for the Coyotes leadership group this year. Coyotes Central, good friend of ours on the Instagram, says, I think it's time to give OEL the captaincy, but I would not mind them having 3 alternates. He did go on to say that, OEL is a more soft-spoken guy, but he's capable of leading and teaching. Also mentions Domi as a possibility. Another Instagrammer, Ryan, agrees and says that it could be Domi. He's getting a lot of love, Max Domi. Friend of the show, Kat Silverman, also agrees that a leadership group of Domi, OEL, and Derek Stepan could be a possibility. And then, of course, Derek Stepan, OEL. So those are the main two. Like, Derek Stepan and OEL seem to be the leaders in the clubhouse for a leadership group. And I am 100% on board with those two at least. But I'm kind of curious, though, because, we're a week away from the season. So I'm kind of curious what kind of indication we're going to get from Tocchet if that's going to be the case. If he's going to do it on opening night, and what kind of how fans are going to take it, because it is kind of it's one of those things in hockey that's so coveted, right? To wear that letter C on your jersey, that when you kind of don't have one, it's a little weird for most hockey fans, I think. But it kind of depends on the situation in the locker room. So, like, we can't really judge what's going on in that Coyotes room behind the scenes. We don't really know it. So we should be cool with it, whatever Rick Tocchet decides.
No, I completely agree. We aren't in the locker room, so it's hard for us to decide and really know what's going on in there. But it's definitely going to be a one-sided thing. You're either going to be the person who's old-fashioned about it and thinks that there should be a C, or you would be open to the A's. I honestly think you'd be open to the A's. And then I think there's a lot of people who have been fans of this team for a long time. They just have grown to really like OEL, and they're just automatically thinking that that's, the direct next step. But someone else that we didn't mention on the comments there, which I have to, of course, give her a shout out, is Mo. She's one of my best friend's sisters, so I had to give her a shout out. She definitely thinks that it should be OEL, and she's one of those people who's been a Coyotes fan for forever. So it's one of those things where I think a lot of times you get into the situation where people on certain teams get risen up, and I think Domi will be that person eventually. I think OEL is what everyone's assuming right now. I just, like you said, we don't know what's been going on in the locker room, and there has to be something that's giving Tocchet hesitation on OEL, because he is the assumed person for the job. So whatever that is, I pointed out a couple things, but he had to have been seeing something himself if he's not automatically giving it to him.
Yeah, he did say at the beginning of preseason that he was going to take his time. So it's not that big of a deal that one hasn't been named yet as we get close to this year. I think the Toronto Maple Leafs have yet to name their captain yet. One is assuming that's going to be Austin Matthews. Not all of 20 years old that he is going to be captaining the Toronto Maple Leafs, which is insane.
It's great for Arizona.
Absolutely.
And it's great for Arizona hockey press, but I'm not sure I would go in that direction just because of the fact of the youth and experience. But he did have all those years overseas, and that really seemed to grow him and shape him as a person. So if that is strong enough for you to think that he has leadership, then I guess, as a coach, you go for it. But it's kind of that whole faith and that ability to think that that person can be that leader that team needs. And I know a lot of people are saying, it's not that big of a deal, but it really is. When you're in a situation where an entire team is not doing well, you need those ones that are the leaders to step up and take charge. And it can't always be your coach. So you have to have those leaders do that. So they are kind of an important and essential part of a team.
So should we save our season predictions for next week's show?
Yes. I'll be at the home opener, so I'll be able to see what's going on the 7th there, and then we can figure out what we think will go from the rest of the season, because I really just think a lot of this season will be how they play on the ice, because it's hard to predict from preseason how their season's going to go.
You know how much attention I paid to the preseason? None. I don't. I haven't. I think I've watched 2 minutes of the game against LA and I got bored with it. I don't put anything into the NHL preseason. It is the worst thing in the world. And because we talked about it before too, because you did a Cori's Corner on the NFL preseason and how stupid it was. So to me, like preseason just needs to go away. It's a complete waste of my damn time. Just drop the puck on the regular season hockey already, for the love of goodness. And then we'll do Stanley Cup picks next week too.
Ooh, yes, that could be interesting.
So I have no idea who I'm going to pick yet. It's going to be a tough race this year.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to pick either. So I'll definitely have to look into that and see who I'm really kind of considering a front runner.
Okay, well, let's wrap up the Coyotes conversation and get the Diamondbacks coming up in just a few minutes. But first, let's take a jaunt into Cori's Corner.
Yes, for my jaunt into Cori's Corner this week, I would like to talk about fan etiquette. Yes, the game, you'll be probably seeing this Monday night, Tuesday. The game for the Wildcard game is Wednesday. And I just kind of wanted to quickly remind everyone, for everyone that will be at that game, because there'll be a packed house, to be a good fan. And being a good fan requires, one, I suggest you go early. Go when the gates open, and it will go through their whole pregame show. In their pregame show, they let you know all of the things that you can get kicked out of the stadium for doing. Therefore, don't do them, because you probably paid paid good money for these tickets, and not to mention you probably really want to see this game because it's going to be a hell of a game. It's going to be two powerhouses against each other, so you definitely don't want to miss it. So don't be throwing things on the field. Don't be flipping off DBTV, the usual stuff like that. But on the other thing that is always annoying, please don't stand up in front of other people. Don't be yelling profanity, especially when there's children around. Don't be throwing things at people. Just try and be a nice fan and let everyone have a great fan experience, because we haven't had this experience since 2011. So those 6 long years, everyone's been waiting for this. So don't ruin it for someone else. And also, please don't be that person that tries to reach into gameplay to catch a foul ball that could be a game changer, and because you want a ball. I'm sorry, but that ball in that game means so much more than you being able to catch it. Like, I know everyone wants to literally rip everyone's heads off trying to get a ball. I've been around that before, so I definitely know that. But it's not worth it. The Diamondbacks winning the game is so much more important. So please keep your gloves on the inside of the stands. And just respect everyone around you, and it should be a really good game. Just wanted to give everyone this reminder on my Cori's Corner.
I'm glad that you mentioned the conduct at the Wildcard game, Cori, because it is now time for us to get into the Diamondbacks playing host to the Rockies in that National League Wildcard game. Winner take all to take on the LA Dodgers in the National League Division Series. And it was also announced on Saturday that Zack Greinke will indeed be starting for the Diamondbacks on Wednesday, and that Jonathan Gray will most likely get the start for the Rockies in that game. But both of us kind of have some concerns about Zack Greinke with how he's been pitching. His last 2 starts have been really concerning.
Yeah, mostly it's been his mental ability to go onto the mound and be able to command his pitches and to really pitch the way that he is as an ace pitcher. And I just feel like his head is not really in it right now, because his past couple starts have not been very good. And the fact that he just looks out of it to me. Like, he doesn't look like he's in his normal flow that he's used to.
Yeah, so his last 2 starts, to recap, he had that awful start against Miami where he gave up the 8 runs in 4 innings, and then he had the start against Kansas City on Friday night where he gave up 2 more runs in less than 5 innings of work as well. So he's given up 10 runs over his last 2 starts, and that is not Zack Greinke-esque at all. In fact, his ERA went from under 3, it was about 2.85 or so, to now 3.20 over his last 2 starts. And that is not where you want to be headed into the playoffs. Headed into the playoffs, you want to be at your best. You want to be feeling good. You want to be hot. And Zack Greinke is not that right now for the Diamondbacks, which is why, and people are going to give me a lot of crap for this. And Torey Lovullo has been on point all season long with most of his decision making. That's the reason why he's the leading candidate for National League Manager of the Year. But I kind of disagree with pitching Zack Greinke in the wild card game, and the biggest reason why is because you want your best pitcher on the mound in that game, and that pitcher right now is Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray has been stellar in the month of September. His ERA is in the 2s in September. It was in the 2s in August. He hasn't lost a start since July. He is, to me, the best option for the Diamondbacks to win a baseball game right now. He's a lefty as well, which will kind of matches up well against the Colorado Rockies. And even look, you're paying Zack Greinke $30 million, but it doesn't matter if he comes out and his mental game is off, like you said, and he can't get through the 5th inning.
Yeah, and that's the biggest problem that Greinke's having right now is I don't think putting him in a pressure situation to where it's one and done, where he's really going to need to perform. He's going to need to get through all those innings and do them well to get past people like Cargo and Blackman and Arenado. And this is a very offensive Colorado Rocky team, and I just don't feel comfortable, I guess I would say. Like, I want to have every faith in the world in Greinke, but over his last 8 starts, he's got over an 11 ERA. So it's very scary because if he starts going downhill, the way that Torey manages, he doesn't like to pull them as soon as they start kind of falling apart. He'll wait until he's in like the 5th or 6th inning in order to pull them. And that's the thing that scares me is you can do a lot of damage in those innings.
Yeah, but here's the good thing about Zack Greinke. All season long, he has been ridiculous at home. That's where he feels most at home. 116 innings pitched, 287 ERA, 207 opponent's batting average, and that includes his last awful outing against the Miami Marlins, which probably ballooned that ERA up a little tiny bit. So as far as that is concerned, that's who you want on the mound, is you want the guy who excels at home. Whereas if you're looking ahead to that Dodgers series, Robbie Ray is incredible on the road. 85 innings, 1.79 ERA, 176 opponent's batting average, and almost 12.5 Ks per 9 innings against a Dodgers team where he is 3-0 against the Dodgers and a 2.27 ERA.
Do you think that is what came into Torey's decision and the fact that Greinke is so much better at home than he is on the road?
Yeah. I think that's probably the biggest reason why he's starting, other than that salary, is that's where you want him. You want him at home, and you want Robbie Ray on the road.
Yeah, I really hope that Greinke comes out and it has some type of mental breakthrough where he's able to come in and really command his pitches the way that he is known to and be able to trust in what spots he's given. So I just really hope that he comes and shows the Greinke of old, as in other than the Greinke of new, because the Greinke of new has not been. Hopefully, he's gotten that out of his system. Is basically what I'm saying here.
He got his one bad start out of the way because, and you mentioned it too, is that Zack Greinke is a big game pitcher. 2.38 ERA in his last 6 postseason starts, so he's legit in the postseason. He knows how to pitch.
That's what he has, the experience, so that helps a ton. Yeah. It's just really, I promise you, I know I keep on mentioning it, and I feel like I'm, repeating myself so much, but whether his mental game is there or not, when he is mentally sharp and he knows what he wants to do with his pitches, he is fantastic.
Lights out.
Yes. It is when he is unsure and he's second-guessing himself or second-guessing the spots that he's given, he starts to implode and fall apart. So I'm really hoping that he's not going to do it in this situation because of the fact that they are such good hitters. We don't even know, we have our good hitters as well. I mean, we're not even sure if are going to pitch to JD. That's been one of the stories going around, is whether they're going to pitch to JD or not. But we can't really say that for theirs. We can't be like, well, you can't pitch against Blackman, you can't pitch against Arenado, and you can't pitch against Cargo, because you have
somebody's gonna hurt you.
Yeah, one of them, they have 3 top batters that are going to hurt you in some way. So if you aren't on your game the entire game, it's going to be a problem. So I mean, it's good. It's looking good going in because of the fact that the Diamondbacks have won 11 of their 19 on the season against the Rockies. Yeah. However, if you look at their home statistics, it's 5-5. So it's completely even at home, and that's really nerve-wracking considering the fact that these teams are almost essentially equal in a lot of different ways. Because when JD, Goldie, Jake Lamb, and AJ are on their game, insane offense. Great offense. And I just feel like they can be, if both teams are on their top game offense-wise, it's going to come down to pitching. And that's why I want to be able to rely on Greinke as much as we could earlier in the season. So I don't know what he needs to do, but he needs to figure out how he can get back to a place where he's calm and confident coming into this game on Wednesday.
Right. So Zack Greinke's record against the Colorado Rockies this season, he is pitched in 5 games against the Rockies this season. Strikeout to walk ratio of 18.5. So he's doing well there. Excuse me as I scroll through the website here to get the right information. Rockies, he's 2-1 against the Rockies with 3.41 ERA.
Well, another thing actually I would like to point out too is on the other side, they're predicting that it's going to be Jon Gray, right? Well, you know how I had mentioned in the last 8 starts, there was an over 11 ERA for Greinke?
Right.
Well, the last 11 starts for Gray, 2.44 ERA.
Yeah, he's pitched really well against the Diamondbacks too.
And that is scary, considering the fact that the two of them have had complete opposite games starts leading up to this game. So I'm just really nervous because I genuinely think it's going to come down to pitching.
So prediction time. What's your score? Who's going to win? Who's going to play the Dodgers in the division series?
Well, I will always be on the side of the Diamondbacks because I think they definitely have an ability to win this game. If they do what they do the best, if Greinke pitches the way he pitches normally, it'll be fantastic. And then if you have AJ, Jake, Goldie, and JD coming out and just doing the things that they always do up at the plate. I mean, okay, what Jake does in the first half of the season, he needs to bring his first half of the season to the left.
Lately. He has 3 home runs in the last week.
Yeah, I mean now that it doesn't matter as much anymore, it's coming out, and it's just kind of funny because he's kind of doing the complete opposite. Everyone else is slightly falling apart. Like we were just watching Archie not doing too well in this game, and whereas Jake did the opposite, where he was doing bad the first half of the second half. And now he's somehow, now the games don't matter, he's pulling it out of nowhere.
Right. So what's your score?
Gonna do 5-2 D-backs.
Okay. I'm gonna go with a similar score. It's gonna be high scoring because these two offenses are ridiculous, and there's no way in hell these teams are gonna get out of Chase Field without scoring more than 5 runs apiece. So, look, it's going to be a close game. This is one and done. It's not going to be a blowout for either way. I think the Diamondbacks do come out on top, though. I think they get a 6-5 victory. I think Greinke comes out. He pitches 6 innings. They turn the ball over to Archie for 7 and 8. And then Fernando Rodney gets the ball in the 9th inning, closes it out, and the Diamondbacks get the win. And your MVP offensively is Paul Goldschmidt. He's had a bad September, but I think he finally figures it out, and he's going to get the big hit for the Diamondbacks and that victory. It is now time, Sporty Nation, to wrap up the show as we always do. It is now time for my Dick of the Week. And this week, I'm going to go back a couple weeks and call out Zack Greinke. Because, Zach, even though you were starting in the wild card game, you were a complete dick to Pat Neshek of the Colorado Rockies. So Pat Neshek is a big baseball card collector, gets autographs from around Major League Baseball. And so at the All-Star game, he asked Zack Greinke to sign something for him. And Zach essentially said, yeah, eventually, yeah, sure, whatever. And then when Neshek approached Greinke again later on in the season, Greinke didn't even recall that meeting happening. Basically said he never agreed to sign the card. So Pat Neshek took to a collector's forum and said this of Zack Greinke. He said, quote, "This is the only a-hole in Major League Baseball that has been a turd to me." That's Pat Neshek to Zack Greinke. Zach, all you had to do for the guy was literally just sign a Z and a G, move on. It takes 15 seconds out of your life for this guy to get an autograph. He's not going to sell it. He's just a collector. Wants to chill with his buddies in Major League Baseball. But no, Zack Greinke, you decided to be a turd. And my dick of the week, but I still hope you pitch well on Wednesday. Thank you so much for checking us out on this episode of Sporty with Cori and Richie. We'll talk to you again next week. Good night and good sports, everybody.